Hey copper nerds, let's open up these capsules and just talk a little bit about surface condition on copper coins. This will be off the cuff chaos like we like to do sometimes, but let's kind of go from best to worst maybe. Let's look at some nice ones. Those ones are going to be nice. That one's nice. Let's start with this pile right here. Okay. I'm going to start off with this 1823 restrike, which was slabbed as an AU58. I don't remember if it was PCGS. I think it was PCGS. But here we are talking about just nice, hard brown surfaces. There's nothing not to like about this one whatsoever. That is about as nice as a brown coin gets. Certainly, there's red coins out there. This one's a restrike. But I don't have any red coins in my collection. If you're into the middle and later dates, you can probably find some like Randall Hoard or other late perfect red coins or red-brown coins. But for my purposes, this is as choice as it gets. Just a very, very nice set of surfaces. Let's look at a couple others that really have no issues. And I'm saying hard surfaces is what we're talking here. Something that has no corrosion whatsoever or other kind of impairment and hasn't been cleaned. So this one is in that camp as well, 1836. Just a beautiful coin, exactly what you're looking for with copper. No problems whatsoever. Just has a little light coat of oil on it. Otherwise, it is as it was when it left circulation long, long ago, and it didn't circulate much. This Sheldon 65, on the other hand, circulated plenty, but it also has nice hard surfaces. There's a couple of minor pits on it, which I think are damage related and not corrosion related. So these are sort of your choice, nice, hard surfaces. This is what you're shooting for ideally. And as you'll see coming up, I don't have many that are like that. In fact, I have one more to throw in with hard surfaces. It's not quite as nice as those, but it should not be going into the impaired category either. That Sheldon 51 right there. So this one has some sort of mottled surfaces. It has some minor surface impairment as far as the toning goes, but no corrosion whatsoever. It is just a nice coin. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of break these into batches. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of these four so you can get a better look at them. And then we'll start moving into some more problematic coins just so we can talk about what surfaces look like after they've been cleaned or after they've been buried or after they've been improperly stored. So we're starting off with our hard surface coins first. I'll get you some pictures right now. All right, here's our next segment, sort of the mildly problematic surfaced coins. I'm just gonna bust them out first and then we'll look at them. These ones are gonna have either obvious signs of cleaning or sort of mild surface granularity, which are terms you're gonna see a lot is about surface granularity, which isn't the same as like pitting, but it is a result of corrosion. So let's start off with the cleaned one. The Sheldon 24 has been cleaned. It's a fairly high grade coin, but there's no evidence of luster or of its original toning, and it's got some spit marks on it, some fly specks. So this is a nice coin, but just sort of one step below what we would call like a nice choice above average surface. This Sheldon 19B, which is a head of 93, it has minor surface granularity. You're gonna see it primarily in the fields, but on whole, you know, it's a very nice coin, approaching hard surfaces, but it's not. Like there's definitely some impairment to the surfaces as a result of a corrosive process. And then this Sheldon 27 is kind of a neat one. If I'm being honest, I think this coin was probably worked on way back in the day. And this is from the Jules River collection. So this is a, you know, a well-known, very rare variety, but you'll see in the photos particularly that the fine surface granularity is for the most part exclusively in the fields, whereas the devices the bust and cap are worn smooth. What I think likely happened is this coin was either improperly stored or briefly buried, and then it was intentionally circulated, so to speak, to knock off some of that granularity from the devices. And this is a trick that some people do use in conservation, is they will take a slightly problematic coin and then they will intentionally circulate it down a grade and then let it tone back up. And you know, a lot of those are trade secrets. I don't know what people are using to tone up coins outside of sulfur paste or putting it in your sock. Those are kind of the things we've talked about. But I suspect this one had uniform fine granularity throughout, and that it was intentionally circulated down a grade and resulted in a very nice looking low grade example of a Sheldon 27. But I do think it's been messed with. I don't think it came out of circulation like this, unless it was, you know, briefly buried and then found or dug up and put back into circulation. That's possible, but I have suspicions that it was, you know, fixed up a little bit from what its state was when it had that fine granularity appear on its surface. So let's take a few closer looks at pictures of these ones. All right, these ones have some moderate surface issues, moderate corrosion issues. These are definitely the next category down from what we were just looking at. This one has some, you know, noticeably rough surfaces. It's got some damage by the date. Really cool late die state on the reverse, which is why I picked this one up. You can kind of see it there. But definitely granular surfaces. This isn't just mild granularity, it's fairly heavy. This one is perhaps slightly less granular. Still a very nice looking coin, I think, particularly for an early date. But you know, you can see that granularity is present everywhere on the devices in the fields. And then of course this one had the date punched into it, which I think is kind of funny. It's a neat coin, Sheldon 49. Then we have this really cool ex Tom Morley condition census Sheldon 53, very rare coin. But again, it's got some moderate problems on the surface in terms of corrosion and pitting. This one's been waxed, which does actually improve the aesthetic appeal quite a bit. I don't know what the process is for waxing a coin, and you can see on the reverse here as well. For pictures, I'm just showing you guys obverses. That's what's more interesting anyway, but definitely some moderate issues going on there. And then this one has not pitted to the degree that those other three have, but it's got like active corrosion all over it, and I just kind of like it, and I'm not going to conserve it. But sort of more finely granular, but it has got active corrosion everywhere, and I'll try and capture that in the photos the best that I can. So there's our moderately problematic surface coins, and we will go ahead and show you some pictures. And here we got some heavy pitting coming up next. This is a condition census Sheldon 35 from the Rasmussen collection. And you'll see heavy pitting on the face, even though the fields only have what I would call fine granularity. So this has got a weird combo of sort of that second tier fields, but then some heavy pitting, which is very obvious. All over the coin. So we'll take a closer look at that one. And then let's see, both of these next two are really rough, but also neat coins. Sheldon 45, heavily corroded and pitted. It has a little bit of green corrosion, you know, in some of those pits that is, you know, I don't think it's real active, but it's still in there. And then the reverse. This one's cool because it has that die chip inside of the bow. And you can kind of see it inside of the left bow. That is the only diagnostic I care about on this one. It's a neat coin, tough variety. It's a little oily. I did oil this one in a previous video. And then when they sit for a while, sometimes that oil will get out of the nooks and crannies and back onto the surface. So that looks better. And last, let's look at this Sheldon 62. Again, heavy, heavy corrosion. But this one's neat because it's got that big die, that cud from the edge of the die chipping out right there at 8, 9 o'clock. But again, heavy corrosion. You would call this a heavily pitted surface. Heavily corroded coin, but you know, still attributable and not the worst thing in the world to look at. But so those are going to be our heavily corroded coins. We'll take a quick look at a couple photos of those. And with that, we'll pack everything up. That was really just a crash course in copper coin surfaces. I'm sure you could tell the difference, and you probably already knew the differences, but you know, it can't hurt to just take a quick refresher and look at some examples. Bam. And I appreciate you checking this one out. As always, we'll look forward to talking to you in the comments. Thanks for bearing with me on this sort of down and dirty, hasty video. Just thought I would put this out there for the good of the order and see what you guys think. Did I miss anything? Was I way off base? I think that was all pretty self-explanatory and correct, but yeah, I will look forward to talking to you a bit more on these. I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in. This is probably the most chaotic video I've done lately, but you're gonna get that out of me sometimes because I'm just a random average dude making a video on his lunch break about my copper coins. Talk to you later. Peace.